Hello, my name is Jenan Kanono. I'm the team leader at Jonaki Holdings Limited, where we get to serve you. So if you have a financial challenge, if you have a money problem, if you want to scale up your business, we have you sorted. And you can always check us out at www.thejonakiholdings.com for money solutions. We are located in Tinda as our headquarters and at Mulago Business Center as our branch. Enjoy this video. Our today's topic is how do you update your loan documents? See, when you're processing a loan facility for a client, it is important that your documents that you use to transact are up to date. What do I mean by up to date? They have to actually be aligned to the law. Now, this will cut across based on the jurisdiction that you're operating in, because you could be watching and probably you're operating in, outside Uganda, in any other country. So you actually have to make sure that your loan documents are updated all the time, because some of the laws that we have in our countries, in our respective countries, are removing targets. So every year that passes or every five years, they revise the laws. I'll give an example. The laws that govern us in Uganda, the Money Lending Act of 2016, Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act 2016, it gets revised almost every after 5 years or every after 7 years. There are some of the clauses that actually change. And that means that if you have documents that were tailored to the previous act, now the revised one, they may not apply. And lo and behold, if you do not update your documents, then you're actually in hot soup. Why? Because if in any case, if you go to because no one sits back and says, you know what, I'd like to end this matter in the courts of the law. But there are those clients where you have no choice, but probably you actually have to go to the courts of the law. Now, in the event that you go to the courts of the law and your documents that you used in the transaction, these documents could cover the loan application forms, these documents could cover the loan agreement, the letter of offer, and any other pertinent document. Now, you can imagine if you do not update your loan documents and you get to the courts of the law and the act speaks something different and probably your documents are saying contrary. What then happens? You lose the matter. And what is at stake now? It is the money that you actually lent out. The client has a discretion to actually to pay you. So some of the clients are so informed that he comes, he fulfills all the conditions to get the facility, he actually gets the facility, but ultimately he knows you're going to hit a roadblock to collect this money. And they take advantage of your inefficiency. They take advantage of your ignorance. Now, ignorance is no excuse for non-performance. Ignorance is no excuse. Why? Because you need to know that it's not about you. It's not about you. Why? Because the company does not employ you alone. The company does not serve you alone. You're looking at the number of the staff that you're serving, the number of employees that you're employing, and if you close shop, where they're going to feed, they have also several other dependents. So it's not about you. So that one, first understand it. So you ought to think beyond you. You ought to think sustainability. So you ought to align your documents. I'll give you an example that the act that guides you, irrespective of the country you operate in, they have attendant regulations that implement the act. Now, much of the time, a number of times actually, regulations are revised from time to time. Why? Because the act could keep constant, but the regulations, new things come in place. I'll give you an example. With the change in technology, there has arose in Uganda, not even Uganda alone, but globally, online lenders. Now, you may find that during the formulation of the act, they didn't expect to have online transactions, to have online lenders. But now they have come on board because of the shift in technology. What then happens? How do you cater for these guys? The first document that you have to look at is to actually generate or put the clauses in the guidelines or in the regulations that cater for online lenders. Then what happens? That means you actually have to align your documents accordingly. So there are a number of things that change. Could even be new guidelines that guide the industry. So you probably actually have to align accordingly. So you ought to keep up to date and also update your documents. And this has been the plight of most of the lenders, because you see, some of the lenders probably are up country. Some of the lenders are not within the city. Some of the lenders are not privy to the institution. They're not privy to the information that we have at hand, the changing information, the changing trends. They're not privy to most of these things. What then happens? And that's why I've been encouraging most of the lenders and some of the guys that I actually mentor, that it is important that you belong. I shot a video on why you should actually join the association, Money Lender Association of Uganda. And for those who are in different countries, belong to that association that guides your industry. And this could even cut across several other businesses. Why? Because this association actually has appointed someone who is meant to be looking around and looking at the new updates in the industry and updating all of us. Now, if you do not belong to Money Lender Association of Uganda and you lend money in Uganda, then you ought to actually join one. Why? Because it is important that you're kept up to date. Because you see, with the lending, you can get obstructed, you can get diverted. With the number of other, engagements, number of other transactions, and you get so busy and you don't get an update. But what happens if you belong to an association? That means you're going to get updated. That means you're going to be told on what is the latest. We're actually even proposing, we're pushing that we get to have a standardized loan agreement, standardized letter of offer, standardized documents that we can actually use in our transactions. Because if you have one lawyer that looks at the law and appreciates the law and formulates these documents that are really tailored to the law, then we shall be in sync. That means all of us shall be a block and we shall be grounded to know that we are transacting with the right documents, we can serve our clients better, and we can actually grow together. So you ought to update your documents in accordance to how the law has been changing. Why? Because the law is a living thing. It's a moving target. It keeps changing along the way. So as it changes, as new things come on board, as new technologies come on board, you also need to align accordingly. I want to highlight a few things that I can actually highlight that come so handy, that come off head, that have actually changed. For example, if you're a money lender and you've been lending for a long period of time, your tenure, the loan period, I've probably been lending for 5 years, there has been a revision of the regulations, still in a draft form, but yes, it's a proposal that they want probably, put a time period, probably maximum. If you're a money lender, maximum could be 6 months or could be 1 year. So if you're not privy to that information, that means you're going to enter transactions that are going to extend for a long period of time, like 5 years. So what then happens? There was even a clause that says, you probably cannot collect more than a particular percentage of your loan book, of your loan that you have disbursed. You cannot charge interest and the fees more than probably the principal for a given period of time. Some of the things, and we ought to actually fight them. We ought to discuss them. Why? Because it's probably capping in disguise. But if you don't belong, if you're not updated, it's a blame on your side. Why? Because you ought to be on top of your game. As you're serving those clients, you ought to be on top of your game. And this is the interesting bit, is that some of our clients are not seated. Some of the clients actually are the formulators of some of these laws. So in the event that they see that they're in hot soup, they will need to push for a clause that will put a lender in a fix. Why? Because probably some of their intentions could not be good. Or someone borrowed money with the intention to defraud or with the intention not to pay. And you can imagine if he's a formulator of that law or a mover of such an act on the floor of parliament, what then happens? So I encourage you that as a lender, you actually ought to be on top of your game. Why? Because the law changes every day that passes. So you also ought to actually revise your documents, your loan processing documents, your loan agreements, your letters of offer, and even your methods of collection. Because there are those lenders who are collecting money by picking ATM cards from the clients, which was illegal. You can imagine someone already knows that something is illegal, but they still go ahead and actually do it. Pick national IDs from the clients. Now you can imagine a national ID will not pay you. A national ID is an identification document. You cannot sell it. And the instance of a collateral is that in the event that the client fails to pay, you can actually foreclose. Now, let me ask you a question. Can you foreclose on a national ID? You cannot. Can you foreclose on a laptop or on a passport? You cannot. It's an ID. It's an identifier. So you can imagine because of someone's ignorance or not understanding the law, they can land in hot soup. You give money against a national ID, against an ATM, which is a personal thing. So in a nutshell, as I conclude, it is important that you keep revising your documents and make sure that they are aligned to the act, to the law, to the regulations, to the guidelines that guide your industry. And this could even cut across different industries. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Leave your comments, subscribe, like, share. If you've been impacted, Please share with your friend so that we can all grow together, because iron sharpens iron. You can also always check us out at www.jonakiholdings.com. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you.